Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? To help the other team unload that, you can unload a contract on another team.
Yeah.
So you trade away Foles and a better draft pick for a worse draft pick.
Yeah.
There might be a team that's interested in Foles as a backup.
Right.
That might be a thing where, Chicago's interested in that deal.
Yeah.
A veteran to push Mitchell Trubisky, right? That might be something that works out for a team. If you can bring in a capable backup and move up higher in the draft as well, maybe that's what happens with Nick Foles. But other than that, I think he stays with Jacksonville and ends up the starter.
Let's stay in Florida, but let's move on to Tampa Bay. This one, man. Like, yo,
this one's fun.
I fucking love Jameis, bro. I don't know what it is. I just love that dude. The 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions thing is the most Jameis Winston thing ever that he could ever do. It's so fitting, but I don't know. I just want him to stay in Tampa Bay so bad.
Just ask him. He's balling, man.
He was balling.
Look at me. I'm balling.
He's like, what are y'all talking about, man? I balled out this season. I balled out.
I'm balling.
Eating W's.
Yeah, he's oh God, what an interesting character.
Yes,
his entire
man.
career.
That
man.
had to be the most polarizing season I ever seen from a quarterback. Because he legit put up phenomenal numbers with 30 touchdowns, led the league in passing yards. But then he fucking 30 touchdowns or 30 interceptions. What is that?
Yeah, man, you see a guy throw for 5,200 yards or whatever the hell he threw for, and then joining the first man, the most exclusive club in sports, the quarterback 30-30 club.
30-30. Brett Favre never did that.
I've got some Brett, all the famous gunslingers.
You know what I'm saying?
Never did that. Marino never did that. Rivers never did that. Favre never did that, right? It's hilarious.
Nuts.
But what I will say is he gave me some of my most entertaining, without a doubt, fantasy football stories from last year, without question, almost week in and week out, right? Because you'd run into a team, you're playing against Jameis Winston, right? And he'll have -6 points because he's thrown 3 picks to start the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just starts chipping away at you, touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, piling up yards to Mike Evans. He was one hell of a ride last year, but again, to bring it down off of the fun note that he is, I mean, if you're Tampa Bay, what do you really do with him at this point? I'm looking for your opinion. What do you really do with Jameis Winston? Your honest take.
Honest take, I bring him back. I bring him back. For
$35 million though, that's what he's looking for. He's balling out, man. Don't forget, he's balling. So you bring him back for $35 million.
I wouldn't. So this is what I would do if I'm Tampa Bay. I'm Tampa Bay's GM, and what I've been reading is that they're potentially thinking about using the franchise tag on Shaquille Barrett because they don't want him to get away. I think they're trying to get the deal done with Shaquille Barrett, and I think you franchise tag Jameis Winston and you let him play on that 1-year deal. All right, or you sign it to a 1-year deal, however you want to do it. So the man got LASIK eye surgery this offseason. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of feel like we about to see the Jameis comeback season, bro, in Tampa Bay. He has another year under Bruce Arians' system. And with history shows us anything, a quarterback year 2 under Arians' system takes a significant leap after year 1. So he has another year under Arians' system. He has a lot of good weapons in Tampa Bay. They got probably one of the best receiving cores in the NFL with Mike Evans. I'm forgetting the other Godwin, however they pronounce his first.
Chris Godwin.
Yeah, Godwin. And then also if they bring back Perryman. And then they are tight ends. I like Howard and the other tight end they have as well. I think they should resign Jameis, and I think that he's going to have an actual season where he balls out. So I can definitely see him with the 44,000 yards plus passing, 30 plus touchdowns, but then definitely cut those interceptions by at least half. And potentially have Tampa Bay competing in a very winnable AFC South. You know, I mean, you got New Orleans there, you got Atlanta there, you got Carolina. New Orleans could definitely take a step back, and Tampa Bay could be right there competing with those guys if James Winston can go ahead and get his shit together, which I kind of think he will.
Hey, man.
I'm a James believer, man. I don't know what it is about him. He's a gravitational pull, and I just keep going for it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you hear gravitational. I'm thinking black hole. He's just if you're talking black hole, he sucks, right? I mean, he sucks. That's what I'll say. I don't know. I am not a believer. I think when you keep the other team in in the game as much as he did.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe LASIK fixes everything. Maybe year 2 under Bruce
Because he was
Arians
always
thing.
squinting, man. He was always like.
That's just his face, man. He was always squinting. Come on. You didn't wear contacts out there? I want to see him with some like Horace Grant goggles. Just big time, just old school.
But what if he comes out and just balls out, though? It'd be crazy.
That would be crazy, right? What if... There's a lot of what ifs there, buddy.
It
but
is.
I don't know.
It's too many what ifs.
I'm not a believer, but man, I think you need to. He needs to understand himself. I think you need to be self-aware if you're Jameis Winston. I think, yes, to his credit, he did kind of ball out, right? He kind of balled out. He kind of threw for 5,200 yards and 30 touchdowns.
He wasn't wrong.
He wasn't completely wrong. Of course, that comes with 30 interceptions.
30 of them things.
That's 2 a game. 2 a game on average that he threw. I mean, you're keeping the other teams.
And how many pick sixes did he throw?
All of them. He threw all the pick sixes. Every time he threw a pick, it was terrible. They weren't even like the defender made a great play a lot of times, right?
He just threw it right to him.
My God,
like the defender was running the route.
like I watched the famous Nathan Peterman game right here. We're from Buffalo, New York. I think anybody that's listening would immediately recognize what I'm talking about. He threw 5 to 7 interceptions in the first half, and a lot of those didn't look like they were his fault, right? Went right through a receiver's hands, an unlucky bounce, a tipped pass. The poor kid couldn't do anything right. With Jameis, he looked like he was throwing it to the other team on purpose. Like he wanted to be. Like in the NBA, when you miss a layup on purpose to grab the rebound so you can get that triple-double,
yeah.
It seemed like he was looking to be the first quarterback in that 30-30 club. That's what it looked like he was trying to do out there.
Making a statement out there.
But man, he's something else. I think ultimately he does come back. But again, you got to have some self-awareness there. I think you need to recognize that you need a season of real balling out where you're not turning the ball over 30-plus times because it doesn't even count the fumbles, right? Keep the ball in your hands. Keep it away from the other team for one more year. Take a 1-year contract. Bet on yourself. Have some self-awareness. And then get that real big money, right? If he's balling out like he says he does, and he does what you think he could do in that Bruce Arians offense with all those weapons, imagine the contract he'll earn, right? I mean, I think that's his best case scenario. You signed a team-friendly deal. Let them do their thing with Bruce and hopefully get paid really big time. And not to make too sloppy of a segue for us here, but there's only really 2 teams left that we haven't discussed in this whole carousel.
Okay.
Right? So we're getting to the point where we're almost wrapping this thing up.
Right.
The first one I'll touch on real quickly, unless you had anything else on it. The team that I had written down is the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a team that I mentioned because they have Big Ben coming off of injury. He looked kind of sloppy, if I'm not going to lie. He looked big. He looked bearded. He looked like some kind of Uber driver or something, right? He did not look like an NFL quarterback, but He's going to be the guy. I'm sure he'll be in shape by the time the season starts. They've got a good team around him.
Yeah.
Big Ben will be the guy. Interesting to see what they're going to do, though, because do you start looking for a replacement for Big Ben? Do you bring in one of these quarterbacks that we've talked about as a potential backup? What do you do with Mason Rudolph? What do you do with Duck Hodges? It's kind of an interesting scenario. They're not one of those teams that's in the market for a quarterback, but they have several quarterback adjacent topics of conversation to go into there.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is one of those interesting teams where is the question you ask with them is, do they believe in the younger quarterbacks? Do they believe in Mason Rudolph? Do they believe in my man Duck Hodges? And how do you feel about Big Ben? How many more seasons does he have left? Is this going to be his last season? I mean, they have what pick are they? Did they trade their first round pick? Yeah, they traded to Miami for Minka Fitzpatrick. So if they don't have a first round pick, do they go in the second round and draft one of these quarterbacks? Like maybe if Jake Fromm falls to them, do they go ahead and take him possibly, or Jacob Eason if he's still available? That's an interesting team. I think that if I had to make an ultimate prediction with them, I think that they kind of just stick with what they have right now and let Rudolph and Hodges battle it out for that second quarterback position, and then just go into the season with Big Ben as the starter and kind of move forward from there. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if they did go ahead and draft somebody to kind of be the ultimate replacement for Big Ben if they fell in love with a prospect.
Yeah, man, I completely agree with that assessment. I think that's the perfect way to go. You might even see either Hodges or Rudolph off of the roster by the time it's time to cut down to 53 men because they might not keep both of them. Yeah. One of them might end up somewhere else, right, depending on who they decide
also
they want to go with.
Real quick, just to touch on this a little bit, that may expand the 53-man depending on how the CBA ruling goes. So we'll see how that plays out.
Very
That
interesting.
could expand up to 55 to 56 players.
And I'll tell you what, you might see a lot more teams keeping 3 quarterbacks at that point,
Yeah.
right? A lot of them only keep 2 right now. You might see that third quarterback get added, and Pittsburgh would be a prime team that would do that. Big Ben older already, now with a little bit of an injury history, you might want to keep both those guys around. I mean, frankly, if it's me, I saw him play last year, I wouldn't keep either of them around, but there might not be many better options floating around out there. The last one, I think we might have saved maybe the most fun one for last. How about those Cowboys, right? To quote Jimmy Johnson, how about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys?
What do you do? What do you do with Dak? Let's hear it. What's your take there?
You got to pay him. It's plain and simple for me. Like Dak Prescott is, in my opinion, he's the number one free agent quarterback, especially a quarterback, maybe possibly player. It's not too often that you have a young, he's 26, 27 years old, in his prime quarterback that is a free agent and you not pay that man. He had a phenomenal season last year in Dallas. It's not his fault, in my opinion, that they didn't make the playoffs. He did everything in his power to, get the job done. And he did have a couple of moments, don't get me wrong, but you got to pay him. That you got to give him. Now, I'm not sure exactly what he's asking for in Dallas. I guess before the season started that he turned down like a $35 million per year annual contract or some shit like that.
Yep, I think he's looking for somewhere in that 40 to 45 range, which is a ton. But I agree with you completely. How do you not pay? What more does this guy need to do? He's not an unproven guy. He didn't come out and have one nice year.
Right.
He's had 3 or 4 years now where he's completing like 65% of his passes. He takes care of the ball. He is willing to be a team first guy. He doesn't seem like an attitude problem. He seems like a good enough leader. He threw for like 4,900 yards last year and like 30 some odd TDs with only 11 picks.
Right.
The guy, he's been great. I don't know what
really
else.
good.
And you know what the fun part is to me? You look around. We've talked about so many quarterbacks today. So many quarterbacks. All these teams in need. Dallas has one on the roster. Sign him, man. Like, what are you waiting for?
And I think what's in Dallas' mind as well is they may be questioning how good is Dak Prescott without weapons, because I seen what's his name? I think it's Damian Woody that said that Dak didn't become a top tier quarterback until they traded a first round pick for Amari Cooper. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fair to say, I guess, but it's not like Cooper came in and was just like the best receiver in the NFL at that point. He definitely added a true number one target finally for Dak, but isn't that what you want to do for your fucking quarterback? Give them weapons where they can actually perform adequately?
Yeah,
that makes sense, right?
Agreed, man.
So why would you knock him for that? Like you're going to knock a quarterback because he performed well with a good receiver.
The only thing that you could even consider a knock there, right? And not even a knock on Dak, but a knock on how the organization has built this team is that what they're saying is that both Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott would be perfect candidates for the franchise tag.
Right.
And you can't franchise tag both of them, and you may not be able to keep them both if you franchise tag one or the other of them, right? And we've seen where, yes, of course, you add an Amari Cooper to a roster, your quarterback suddenly looks a little bit better. It's not that big of a mystery, right?
Exactly.
So can you keep them both? I love that you said that Dallas had a lot of problems, none of which were Dak's fault.
Right.
I think you had Jason Garrett there that somehow forgets to hand the ball off to the $90 million man.
Right.
Right? He's killing it in the first half. He's doing the feed me thing like he's eating a bowl of cereal, a bowl of soup, whatever he's eating there. Mm-hmm. And you just forget to hand the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott in the second half. He gets 3 carries for 10 yards in the second half after dominating in the first half. You get away from your game plan completely in multiple games.
Right.
And then they ended up, missing the playoffs by a game?
Yeah, it went 8-8, yeah.
I don't put that on Dak. I think they had a lot of coaching problems. I think I don't know much about their hire this year.
Mike McCarthy?
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of Mike McCarthy.
I don't know what to think there. I don't know that... Interesting. Right? I mean, he had some success. I don't know. I don't love it. It didn't seem like a splash, but maybe that's what they needed. Maybe they just needed a safe pick there, but it kind of felt like more of the same, right? Didn't it? I mean, wasn't that the knock? All the knocks on Jason Garrett seemed to be the exact knocks on Mike McCarthy. So it's very interesting.
I have it, and you know what? That kind of leads me to my theory. I'm gonna call this Benji's theories. You ever listen to the Bill Simmons podcast? He always goes in like Conspiracy Bill, where he comes up with like these conspiracies, and I kind of got like a same type of little feeling there. So
all right, cool. Let's hear it.
Conspiracy take. I feel like that Jerry Jones hired Mike McCarthy to literally be exactly what you just said. Another Jason Garrett, another yes man. I'm going to do it the way that you want to do it. And I'm thinking like Jerry Jones is literally basically the head coach of this team.